All right. I think we're live. The live
We're
button
live, yeah.
counting forward. So welcome to our second edition of TradeView Live. I'm your new MC, Ben Tracy here. I lead strategic business development and commercial strategy for Vizion and have been with the company almost 4 years. Have been both behind the scenes and then on the front lines with a lot of our customers. Not just over the past 4 years, but recently in the past 2 weeks. I mean, everything Kyle and Tyler that you two have been sharing about impacts from tariffs and new changes we're seeing, and talking to all sorts of different media outlets over the past week. I've gotten to field different requests and questions and comments from customers, prospects, and partners alike. So hope we can bring some of those to light on the second edition of TradeView Live. What we wanted to maybe start with is actually a prompt that was sent to me. So out of all the discussion and our LinkedIn posts and the blog posts.
Quick comment, Ben.
Yeah.
Sorry, as the MC from last week who got fired.
Yeah.
The one thing we did do right was we at least told everyone what TradeView was. In case you did not know.
For all the new listeners joining for today's session, Kyle, why don't you go ahead and give them an introduction into what is TradeView and what is TradeView Live?
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, so TradeView Live, we're going to be using the Vizion TradeView app and platform to be answering questions submitted by the audience live here with screen sharing, and we'll be throwing together answers into a set of slides live so that you can take those answers with you after the episode's over. But what is TradeView? It's the industry-leading trade intelligence platform. We see 57% of all ocean bookings globally, 3 times more than any other solution out there. We profiled this, profiled other companies and products, et cetera. There's 1.5 million different companies profiled in TradeView with 90-day trade forecasts looking into the future based upon booking data. We've also leveraged 10 years or 11 years of this data at this point to be able to identify supplier and product networks and map the graphs of those networks. And because this is a modern, brand new application, we have built in an AI researcher to help deliver custom insights, and you're going to get to see some of that today. You can use any of our 3 different product packages of TradeView Explore to just get all access to those profiles, intelligence for custom report building and AI researcher, or soon TradeView Performance, which is going to benchmark both supply chain and logistics performance. The data comes from more than 270 different data sources, carriers directly, booking platforms, AIS data, rail data, trucking data, you name it, we've connected to it. And how can we forecast the future? Well, one of our key data sources is booking information. So bookings at the time the booking is placed on different booking platforms. And so we know what is planned to be shipped before it's ever put in the container, who's moving it, who's going to be receiving it. And that also means we understand what's going to be delivered where weeks, if not months in advance. And so that's how we're able to provide you some of these great insights into what's happening in the market. And now back to you, MC.
And so, yeah, the other question might be, what is TradeView Live? I was thinking about this over the last week as well. I think we consume so many different forms of content about supply chain and supply chain topics today, whether it's political discussion, whether it's topical and speculative. I listen to podcasts, I watch YouTube videos, I see all sorts of comments on LinkedIn. And then you have product demos, right? You have private conversations between buyers of software and software providers, and we don't get much insight into this. I think that TradeView Live is really an attempt to merge the both, right? So we're trying to have a topical discussion about current topics and current issues in supply chain, but we're also trying to demonstrate capabilities in our platform that you otherwise might need to schedule a demo and a private conversation with us to see. So TradeView Live seems to be sort of a cool blend between those two.
And Ben, you're mentioning you had a question sent to you recently. What was kind of the source? Was this a journalist? Was this a customer?
Yeah, this was a potential customer, and it was interesting because they came to TradeView not necessarily for a deep dive into details about individual shipments. I think we looked at that last week in terms of identifying the consignee or the importer of record for a shipment, looking at information about the cargo type inside the container that's listed, the weight, the value, all those details. Really, what the prompt was macro level trends, especially with respect to what's happening with tariffs over the past few weeks. So this question was from one of the largest brands in the world. I'll just put it that way. And the question really came from the perspective of knowing about trends over the last 3.5 months for imports into the U.S. So the first question, as you can see here, is what are the week over week and month over month trends in booking volumes from China to the U.S.? And so when this question was asked, we looked a little bit at what we had shared previously, and we decided to filter this down a little bit more. So talking to Tyler and talking to our data science and analytics team, we only wanted to look at confirmed and accepted shipments by that volume count. Of course, looking at China as the origin and the U.S. as the destination. So that was the first question. Tyler, how do we go about trying to answer that now with TradeView?
With the AI assistant?
Yes. Yeah. Why don't we'll start with TradeView AI.
Sure. So I've got to make sure I've got the right tab shared here. There we go. So we can come into the AI assistant. We can toggle the model. I think right now I'm using 4.0 mini, but I've seen a little bit of variation between the two in terms of how it queries the data set. But we can come in, simply ask it the same question you just stated. What's week over week difference in TEU volumes for shipments from China to the US over the last 90 days? Telling you here to make sure it orders the results correctly so we can see this in a better timeline view. We can see here, we get the results back. Here's the query that got generated against the TradeView data set. And if we start to take a look, we can see here volume started to ramp up into up to March, and then started to fall back off as we got further into the month, which I think most of us could reasonably expect.
And this is bookings, correct?
This is looking at TEU volumes for shipments reporting inside of the last 90 days.
But based on what date? The booking date?
This one's based off entry time.
Off the entry date. So the time that we first saw any evidence of a booking.
The most recent updates provided for these records.
Okay.
So we want to look at that. I think I've got another question prepped as we get further down for looking at unique bookings and volumes compared or combined.
And so, Ben, didn't you also do some prompts yourself around this question?
Yeah, and I wanna distinguish between the TEUs that are arriving into the U.S. So these are shipments that are completing or finishing, and certainly a leading indicator. I think we usually have to wait a month or two for U.S. Customs to report this by port and for the country as a whole. So I think this is helpful to look at last week's what TEUs arrived into U.S. ports, from China. I was prompting TradeView AI with a slightly different query. So I was looking at the initial version date, Tyler, for imports from China into the US. And I was filtering out US CBP arrivals. I was also filtering out any shipments that were not yet confirmed. So if the status was deleted, canceled, declined, or requested. So I did get a slightly different number just in terms of unique shipments instead of looking at TEU arrivals.
No, both notable numbers. I think one is just more of a real-time view, looking at the raw volumes themselves, whereas the other would be against direct bookings created inside the same time window. So really, I mean, like I said, both of them are quite useful numbers. It's just a matter of which measurement you really are looking to get deeper insight into.
Yeah.
And so for this answer, so week over week, TEU booking volumes from China to the US. So we're what? So 4/7 to 4/14, let's say, most recent week. What are we talking about in terms of volumes there?
Yeah, exactly. The week that ended yesterday, as far as a 7-day period.
Okay. And so did you have that in your list in the answer?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we kind of really narrow it down to unique shipments that are only in the confirmed status, and again, filtering out any of the arrivals, really just looking at that confirmation date, we actually see a slight increase from
And
the week of.
tech team, could you put his screen back up so we could see the slight increase he's talking about?
I have the correct tab loaded here. So
There you
so
go.
you see the prompt I gave, and then the results by week. So the week of 3/31, which would have ended on April 7th, and then the week of April 7th, which ended last week. So we actually see a slight increase from 32,000 shipments confirmed to 37,000, which echoes a lot of what we saw with exceptions that were being made for electronics. I think probably a lot of bookings that got confirmed over the last few days, really even Friday until yesterday, based on some of the changes that happened Wednesday, starting Wednesday of last week. So really, it might be interesting to break this down by individual day. But what we do see is that initial decline, right, from the week of March 24th to the 31st, from just under 41,000 unique shipments down to 32. And it's starting to bounce back just a little bit, looking at, again, confirmed shipments from China into the US.
And did you I think the question also asked this month over month. Any prompt for month over month handy?
Well, month over month so far for this year, we actually see an increase. And the reason why is just after New Year's for us, we see a few pretty solid weeks of 33,000, 23,000, 29,000, and 33,000 shipments each. But then a steep drop that's during the Chinese New Year. It takes some time for that to bounce back. So when you compare the months in aggregate, right? So these 4 weeks in comparison to these 4, in comparison to the most recent 8 weeks, we're actually seeing a steady increase month over month for 2025 so far.
And the tech team just said, because they're managing the slides that answer this behind the scenes, they said they just loaded up the stats in there. So here we go. All right, there's your week over week and your month over month now. So there are your increases and decreases you were talking about, Ben.
So it'll be interesting to start to see, how many of these shipments actually arrive, right? We have a lot of speculation about containers being diverted, customers that are refusing to go and pick up their containers because they don't want to pay these 100 plus tariffs applied to Chinese goods. But then, of course, the fact that some consumer electronics have a temporary exception for goods coming in from China. So likely going to lead to some of this increase. But we'll see overall, how much this ramping trade war with China starts to impact the newly confirmed bookings. The second question that we got from this conversation I had last week was, give me the exact same week over week and month over month breakdown, but remove China entirely. I want all of the US imports except for when China is the origin. So basically rest of the world into the US, broken down week over week and month over month. I don't know if those are in the slides yet, but I do actually have the tab with TradeView AI's results loaded here. Is that what we're looking at now? Yep. Okay. So for that, we see pretty consistent volume. I would say similar pattern, right? We saw a drop from the week of 324 to the week of 331, right? 73,000 down to 62,000, and then relatively flat. A small bump for the most recent week that ended yesterday.
Okay, so give me that number again real quick. So is this most recent week is how much? 63,295?
295,
okay.
Which is up about 1,000 shipments from 62,253 the week before.
62,293. Great. All right, just adding those, getting those into the slides.
Yeah.
And how about month over month? That might be a little bit more addition.
Yeah. So real quick here, I'll do some rough math to load it in quicker. So the most recent month, which completed last week, if we're counting a 4-week lag time, was 266,000 shipments. We compare that to the weeks before. Is 263. So also relatively flat. Basically, rest of the world into the US, excluding China, we don't see a lot of variability week to week right now. It's been pretty consistent since February. We saw a slight dip again around Chinese New Year when it went down to 49,000 confirmed shipments for the week of January 27th.
Okay. Awesome. So I got the slide up here. I'm about to put your month over months in here. What was that rough number for the months over months again?
It was about 266.
266,000?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the month before was 262. So
262.
Almost identical.
Almost identical. Yeah, here we go. So 266, 262. Yeah, 1.52. Lots of numbers here. About to paste this in. And get this to be green. Boom. There we go. All right.
Great.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it shows a lot of consistency, just blending in all the other countries that ship to the US, right? Some of these were hit hard by tariffs for a period of about a week. And obviously not all countries that did that apply to. So we do see some consistency right now, but it'll be interesting to see over the next 90 days what plays out with this temporary pause that was put for the countries that were hit by those tariffs. Let's go next into a deep dive. Was the next question? I can't remember on the slides.
It was similar question, but I think it was targeting Southeast Asia. There you go.
Yeah. Now I loaded this up for just one country. I don't know if we're going to go into each of these if we have time, but specifically Vietnam. Kyle, let's pick your.
Tyler said something.
Yeah, Tyler.
We go ahead and start with yours. I think we can probably look at that plus a combination of the countries.
Yeah, start. You did Vietnam first, you said, Ben?
Yes. Let me find out which one it was. Yeah. Okay. So looking at Vietnam, again, same filter applied. Only confirmed shipments, removing US CBP as a source entirely, and looking at week over week from January 1st until now.
Okay. I got, let's see here. I got the table up to fill in the stats.
So with Vietnam, what we're actually seeing is a pretty significant drop. The high was about 4 weeks ago of 6,000 confirmed shipments the week of March 10th. In the most recent week, we only saw 1,550 confirmed shipments. Okay. So Vietnam is actually seeing much more of a drop as far as percentage goes in comparison to China.
And if memory serves, what the threat for a tariff for Vietnam was like 42 or 47%. I remember it being in the 40s. Yes. So it was pretty steep.
And it was rolled back. I mean, there is this temporary 90-day pause in place. So it's just the flat 10% tariff being applied. But it's a little bit surprising that we're actually seeing Vietnam decrease at a higher rate, a faster rate than from China.
And so here's the decrease, just calculated it, roughly 50%, but dropping it into the slide now.
Yeah, and if we look all the way back to the week of March 10th, it's even more than 50%. It's quite a drop. I think it looks like it's closer to 75% if we compare the week of March 10th.
Not quite tracking there, but what date range is March 10th?
Oh, I was just so comparing that week in and of itself of 6,000 confirmed shipments to the most recent week of 1,550. That's almost a 75% drop.
Oh, okay, gotcha. From a month earlier, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So month over month, let's put some numbers in there real quick.
Month over month. So the most recent month that ended yesterday, as far as a 4-week rolling period, 15,000 confirmed shipments.
Okay.
And compare that to the previous 4 weeks. Is, give me 1 second here.
This is just Vietnam, right?
Correct. Yeah. Is 21,000 700.
What I'll do specifically for Vietnam.
Yeah, I've got this similarly pulled up for a combination. I mean, you see the same thing across all of Southeast Asia. It's not, it's not isolated to specifically to Vietnam, at least from what we're seeing. So if we look here, you can see the same time period. You got a little bit of a volume coming up until we get into about mid-March or so, and then just everything starts to fall off a cliff. And then you see a little bit of a bump coming into the first week, or roughly the first and second week of April.
So it's starting to bounce back a little bit.
And those are for.
I mean, I think as far as numbers go, you're still looking at a fairly sharp drop over pre-existing volume.
And that was for what countries, or just all of?
For all those Southeast Asian countries. So Vietnam, Malaysia. What do we have here?
But excluding
Malaysia, Thailand. Okay.
Yeah, that was the exact question that I got. So interesting to see it play out here.
Would you send me a screenshot of that chart real quick, and I'll drop it into the slides?
Sure.
I think that last data point you're seeing, Tyler, is probably the week that just started yesterday. It's probably why the data is so.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Ready to drop it in the slide? Would you just like that to me?
Yeah, it's in our group slide.
Got it. Copy the image. All right, dropping it in.
Save the image.
Yeah, use the download button in the top right corner. There, on the slide now. Let's see here. Let me make sure I've moved to the right slide. There we go. So now specifically for Vietnam, Indonesia, and Singapore, Malaysia.
Great.
Here we go.
Yeah, so certainly some drop, it looks like, in the past 4 to 5 weeks, week over week. But not the increase that we're seeing from China. So it is interesting. When we blend the rest of these countries, we're actually seeing a decline.
And I think we got time for one last question here, Ben. Let's see here.
Was there another one? Oh, yes. Lead times. Okay. So lead times are defined in lots of different ways. But when we take what we have in the shipment transactions inside of TradeView, we're interpreting lead times as the difference between the booking date, right, that confirmation date, to when the vessel departs. So typically this could be as little as 4 to 7 days. But of course, if a shipment gets rolled and that departure gets delayed, you might see that time between booking to vessel departure increase.
Yeah.
So the question is, and there's all sorts of speculation and comments I'm hearing about blank sailings and canceled sailings and rolled shipments. Are we starting to see times between booking date and vessel departure begin to increase for departures that have occurred over the past several weeks? So we could confine that to these countries. Again, this is excluding China, so looking at the other large areas of export into the U.S. From Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, and Malaysia.
And Tyler, I think you just did a prompt for this, correct? In TradeView Intelligence.
So this is not only, what's interesting is, like, this is not only a prompt to get a value of like entered shipments, but we're actually looking at some fields in the data and doing a calculation of the difference in days between the booking date or the entry date and the departure date.
Yeah, exactly that. So we asked the question here, had it base its time dimension on the initial filing date or the initial booking date compared to the vessel departures. And so we come down here, we can see not a whole lot of variation. Still averaging right around 20 days or so, but little bumps, little hiccups here and there.
And so let's have the chart.
Yep.
Let's see here. There's one bump. That's a bump around.
Yeah, early February.
Yeah. And
if anything, we start to see it start to dip down just a bit. So I would say that, from the perspective of a shipper, they might be booking shipments closer to the expected departure date rather than what they were doing, it looks like, in the first week of February, which is booking shipments as much as 3.5 weeks out before their expected departure date.
And Tyler, you want to drop me a screenshot of that real quick and pop it in the slide?
There you go.
Donka. Let's see here. All right, got it in the slide.
But that's definitely a stat that I want to follow closely, like on a daily basis for the next few weeks, because of what we're hearing about rolled shipments and potential blank sailings.
Yeah, I think we'll want to expand this out a little bit too. I think this is a good look at Southeast Asia, not necessarily including anything from China, which I think would also be quite interesting.
Yeah, we could do this query again and just select for China as the origin, of course.
Well, you got 4 minutes.
Yeah, any other questions from the audience? I had a lot that's come up in the last week. We released a updated version of our blog that actually broke down the types of cargo where we saw that week over week decline. So it was interesting to see a blend of who did I have? A guy by the name of Scott. I'm forgetting his last name, but he works in the logistics industry, and he commented on our LinkedIn post saying, "I know you saw this week over week decline, but can you break it down by cargo type?" So Kyle, our approach was, 2-digit HS codes, which are these generic categories describing goods in terms of the 2-digit HS code for meat products, or the 2-digit HS code for steel, the 2-digit HS code for apparel products, right? So it, in some ways, breaks it down by those generic cargo categories. And it's very interesting to see which of those saw the biggest decline in terms of cargo type. So thank you, Scott, for the idea. And it took us a couple of days, and here we have some of those product types or HS code categories where we saw the biggest decline. So it's a mixture of not just finished goods in terms of apparel, but we saw raw materials like fabrics and metals that saw a decline as well. It looks like we did just get a question here in the last couple of minutes. So from Tony, thank you for the question. Would it be possible to show total TEUs from any origin scheduled to arrive into the US for the first 15 days of May in comparison to the first 15 days of April, which would be actual arrivals? So we're comparing actual arrivals that have happened April 1st to the 15th, total TEUs into the US, to what we have scheduled to arrive, which again, keep in mind, the scheduled arrivals that we have that are into the US are based off of the bookings we retrieve. Not 100% of all booking transactions are inside of TradeView today. So it's not 100% of all TEUs that are scheduled to arrive, let's say 30 days from now. But it will be interesting to see a sort of comparison in terms of if we're seeing growth for actual arrivals into the US for the first 2 weeks of May. Are we expecting to see that same growth in the first 2 weeks of May?
Right, digging around here. I'm digging around in Data Explorer right now, but do one of you two want to prompt the AI?
Yeah, Tyler, you got it?
No, feel free to give it a stab. I'm just seeing if I can phrase the question.
I'm just going to show how I would build that real quick in Data Explorer while you guys are asking the AI. So we're looking for things headed to the United States. So I'm going to do destination, country, loading that up. United States. We'll do Virgin Islands and minor territories as well. And we're looking for the vessel arrival date is planned for first 15 days of May. I heard that right, Ben?
Exactly. And I think in Data Explorer, we'll get both estimated and actual vessel arrival dates blended together in the same search.
Yeah, it will be. So I built that so far here, but I'm not saying 474,000 shipments at the moment. I don't think that's correct currently. I think we're dealing with a bug on this number being counted.
Oh, that total number? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bug there. But I can, let's see here. Which field is the null field? Columns, let's show all our columns. Vessel arrival, estimated vessel arrival. All of those are estimated vessel arrivals. And let me just group this real quick by the destination country to get a count of shipment rows. That was origin, not origin, destination country. The AI may have been faster. Either you guys got to answer.
Well, it's not giving me the total. It's breaking it down by individual day. But right now I have the estimate for the first 2 weeks of May. It wasn't able to load at the same time the actuals that have happened from the 1st of April until the 15th of April.
What's your estimate right now?
Well, I haven't totaled it, but it's breaking it down by day. So it's, as high as May 1st, estimate is 36,000 TEUs on a daily basis. It fluctuates as high as 43,000 TEUs on April 6th, and then it tapers off. We don't quite have as many estimated arrivals yet indicated for the 13th or the 14th. For example, May 15th only says 6,000 estimated TEUs arriving into the U.S.
I need to refine mine a bit more, but I think I got a little bit further. Mine's still broken down by day as well. I have to refine my question a bit more in the conversation, but on the first run, I got a bit of a comparison.
Oh, nice.
We got to build a day over day for first 2 weeks in May based on estimated arrivals, and then compare that to first 2 weeks in April based on actual arrivals.
Now, do you have the U.S. as the destination? Because I'm not saying
no.
Oh, okay. we got the right.
2 minutes over, but let's see what we can do.
Yeah, we got the right. Sorry,
AI brain, right? Like, I forgot to put that part.
No, but that's the visual we want. We just want to, maybe we can follow it up with a prompt to say only look at U.S. as the destination.
Yeah, we can come back and get we can break this down further.
Great. So we'll try and get that answer into the slide deck and share it around to everyone. Again, thank you all for attending. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up at visionapi.com, sales@visionapi.com. You can send us an email or support if you have any questions. Please check out our blog post that was mentioning before, and always happy to be helpful. So
I'll see when Tyler's available. I mean, it's been pretty full the last week, Kyle. You know this. We've had dozens of different, not only demo requests, but we're actually now extending free trials of the TradeView application. So Tony, I'll reach out to you not only with an answer to your question, but if you'd like to, try out TradeView, we're offering sample trial access as well.
Thank you so much. And tech team, I think that's a wrap. Cheers, everyone.
See ya.